Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to you to this afternoon's partner webinar with IMSERV, titled Making the Complex Simple, Helping to Make Your Portfolio Healthy and Complete. It promises to be a great session covering projects, case studies, and engagement. And I think with that, we're ready to kick off, and I'll pass across to Emily and Damian to get us underway. Thanks, Emily.
Thanks so much, Robin. First of all, lovely to be here today. Thank you so much for having us. My name's Emily Haddon. I'm a new business sales manager at IMSERV. There's already, I think, a couple of familiar faces on the call, so a few of you may know me. I've been at IMSERV for about 2 years, 2 and a bit years now. And with me today is Damian O'Connor, our head of metering projects. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit, Damian?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Emily. Damian O'Connor. I'm looking after the metering projects within IMSERV, just coming up to my 4th year with IMSERV. And this is the 4th year of working in the metering space. So my background and experience has been predominantly in customer experience and field operations. So I've got a lot of knowledge of dealing with complex field operations and resolving for customers. I'll talk more about that a little bit later in the presentation.
Wonderful. And a feature of our presentation today, you may see a QR code in the top corner. If you want any more information about anything we're talking about, any materials or anything like that, or any questions that you don't want to ask on this session, please feel free to use that QR code, and you can ask us any other questions and we'll come back to you as soon as we possibly can. So what we're going to be talking today is about portfolio completeness, why it matters, what the challenges may be. Damian will be taking a more tailored technical view over it, and I'll be talking about some case studies and our engagement approach. So first of all, if any of you aren't familiar with IMSERV, we've been in the industry for quite a while, about 30 years we've been an accredited agent, and we currently take readings from 1.25 million meters. We take 40% of half-hourly electricity meters that are managed by us throughout the UK, and we have around 300 metering experts in the field across the whole of the UK, so Highlands, Islands, all the way to Land's End. What you may not know about us that is much more new. In the last year, we acquired Astrotech. Astrotech have really pushed us into the future from a technological perspective. They also have a global footprint. So where IMSERV has historically operated in the UK, a little bit in the Netherlands for a moment there in our history, we're now looking out at a more global perspective, providing Astrotech's technology through Astrotech and also through the upcoming IMSERV Astral portal that we'll be developing and releasing over the next few quarters. So a little bit about Astrotech. They currently ingest 25% of all I&C energy consumption data, and they have 0.5 million meter points on our systems as of today. If you want any more information about that as well, please feel free to drop us a message or ask us a bit later. So to kind of start getting into it, one of the things that is really important to us is portfolio completeness, and we know that it's very important to our customers as well. So we spent some time and asked some customers specifically, what does this mean to you? And we've got a variety of very good responses, some that a lot of us in the kind of the sales team and in the metering projects team as well we're already aware of, but was good to hear from as well. So you can see a few of the recurring areas that came up when we were talking about them. So resolving issues quickly, a comprehensive view of that portfolio from multi-utility perspectives, reassurance that the portfolio is in safe hands, dynamic insights, a big one, resolving issues quickly, efficiently and effectively, allowing a portfolio to view their accurate billing so they can have a forecasting view and also a very good snapshot of what's happening at the moment. And one of our customers, a large water, waste and energy services company, gave a really good quote from here. So portfolio completeness means having half-hourly granular data for all of our sites for all time periods up to day +1. In a perfect world, this is all managed by one partner, from the meter to the industry and our supplier through to our own internal systems. Where data problems arise, this also means being able to resolve issues from start to finish with one contact. So a couple of things to pull out from there is all time periods up to day +1. We obviously cover that, and we provide accurate data wherever possible up to day +1, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about, where removing that wherever possible to make sure that we provide day +1 across entire portfolios for our customers. We also dip our toes a little bit. We're currently reaching more into real-time data and seeing what we can provide for customers and for partners there as well. Another thing to kind of pull out is managed by one partner from start to finish. That's obviously something that we work very closely with lots of different partners, partners and TPIs themselves. We work with DNOs, site contacts from anyone and everyone along that chain of a customer we will work with and seek to build a really strong relationships with, so that they kind of become autonomous and everything flows in a very efficient way that the customers appreciate from us. But what I also want to talk about, and is relevant to us, is what portfolio completeness means to us. So it means having a customer that's more than happy because they have a complete working metering portfolio that's collecting the data they need. So they're ensuring that they can have a correct view across everything that they're looking at. So from large sites to small sites to sub-meters, making sure that that portfolio is completely encapsulated and that data is working for them. Getting the data can seem like the easy thing to some people. Obviously, some of us know that that's not always the case. You might have sites where that's really difficult, connectivity issues, for example, access issues, but getting that data and then getting that data to work for you means that that portfolio is complete. Not only are you getting everything, but it's of a quality, of an actual data, of a frequency at that day +1 rate, that it's doing the work for you. So it matters because it's giving you that healthy portfolio. It's giving you a better understanding of your costs. It's giving you accurate forecasting. It's de-risking your portfolio as well. And it's using this as an enabler to get better procurement deals as well, giving you a much better understanding of your energy usage. And primarily what we're all here for is another thing to take off your plate and for you to not have to worry about is your data is there whenever you want to look at it. Your portfolio is healthy, it's complete, and everything like that. So then I'm going to break it down a little bit further into more detail, and we're going to talk a little bit about specific areas that customers come to us to talk about what challenges they're experiencing. So at my time, here are a few things that we're going to go through about what customers often repeat to us. Firstly, incomplete or inaccurate portfolio data. Often when customers come to IMSERV, when they're onboarded, or perhaps when they bring another portion of their portfolio and perhaps when they add gas into their portfolio, or perhaps they've just taken on a whole bunch of sites. Maybe there's been a merger or an acquisition and we're getting an influx. Oftentimes portfolios aren't the most healthy, they're not the most complete. You might have incorrect MPANs or meter types. You might have meter technical details that are missing. You might have sites where no one's laid eyes on the meter in a number of years, and previous MOPs or services or previous site contacts have tried to find the meter and can't find the meter. For ourselves at IMSERV, we use a combination of reporting, account management, and customer services to get visibility over that, to allow for that problem solving to happen. So that can include things like implementation reports is our name for it, but reports where you look at the entire portfolio, you see where we might be missing any flows, where the supplier hasn't quite managed to get that over because they're not sure if that MPAN sits in a contract. We remove those obstacles. Our customer services can communicate directly with suppliers, and at IMSERV for ourselves as well, we have a really good relationship with suppliers. So we often have internal contacts that we can use to make that flow easier. Often with import export, that's the case as well. If there's kind of a timing chicken and egg situation that some of you may have come across before, having that customer services and account management perspective on it can help to support that and remove those barriers. And reporting can also help look at areas where we're missing site contacts or where we're missing visuals of the meter. We're very lucky that, as mentioned earlier, we're 30 years old. We've built quite a database of images and of site details of previously visited sites. If we were appointed on a site 10 years ago, 15 years ago, chances are in the depths of our systems, we've got some information about that site that might be able to help us identify it, locate it, and make sure there's a healthy meter reporting actual data on it. Next challenge is an increase in costs for site visits, to fix comms, to have meters manually read, and so on. Complete portfolios also mean healthy portfolios. Healthy portfolios often have reduced faults. And what we mean by healthy as well is making sure that meters are less than 10 years old. When meters reach 10 years old, they leave certification and are due PMC, periodic meter change. So making sure that customers' portfolios have less aged meters, that the meters are youthful, means that there's going to be less chances of faults occurring. There's going to mean that someone has laid eyes on that meter and the surroundings of the meter in the last 10 years, and they can attest that it's healthy, it's safe, there's no water damage, there's no risk of external factors impacting that meter. We've got visibility and knowledge of that meter and where it is, and that meter will be healthy and working for you and for us, and making sure we're getting that data. And reducing that cost as well of costs of needing meters to be exchanged or needing faults to be resolved and anything like that. Next, monthly bill shock due to estimations presenting forecasting complexities. Complete and healthy portfolios mean that you're getting consistent actual data, therefore you're allowed to see immediate snapshots of the data and of what you should be spending on it. The more you have complete portfolios and the longer you have complete portfolios also allows for forecasting to become easier, both internally for yourself and the customer, for any partners that you work with, for your suppliers as well. Being able to forecast and note what to expect with your spending is key for your guys' operations. Next, inefficient energy usage resulting in additional energy spend. Similarly, complete portfolios allow for visibility across similar sites. So if you are a multi-site customer, if you have 2 shop fronts, for example, in different towns, they might be far away, but they're a similar square footage. They have a similar amount of customers coming and going, for example. You'll be able to compare those where one is spending a lot more on energy, another is spending less. Having a depth and a breadth of your portfolio allows you to compare and contrast against those similar sites. And then leading straight onto that, if you're a single site or if you're a multi-site but you have complex requirements at those sites, you can also look at your portfolio from a multi-utility perspective. A phrase that's often used in the commercial team is mop and DC is our bread and butter, but we like to have a lot of things on our plate for dinner. So we also cover gas, water, heat, steam, sub-metering, anything you can think of. We either already do it and we do it well and we're proud of it, or we want to go on that journey and start looking at that and measuring that and getting you the data for it as well. So if there's anything like that, obviously drop a question at the end or message us using the QR code. We can talk about any other more niche needs you have. But that also covers your portfolio from a more 3D perspective, from an all-around perspective. Perhaps your electricity is doing really great, but actually your heat and your steam is impacting your energy spending. And so having that more rounded view is only going to allow you to have better decision making at various levels, from a big picture level to a really macro level, looking at single sites and different machinery at those different sites or different areas of the building at those sites. And then finally, having your metering portfolio being incomplete from an installation perspective, which means that you're blind to your portfolio consumption. We have an extensive field team with a range of technical capabilities and a drive to innovate as well to reduce installation issues. I won't go on about this too much because I don't want to steal Damian's thunder, but from that kind of overall perspective, making sure that installations are going ahead first time, they're successful. By the time we get to site, we know what we're doing. That is only going to make sure that your portfolio is complete quicker and more efficiently. So with that said, I'll hand over to Damian to talk about how we overcome more technical and practical challenges.
Thanks, Emily, and great to meet everybody as well. Have an opportunity to share some of my experiences, albeit just coming into my 4th year. And as I mentioned earlier, quite new to metering. So I guess you wonder why. What I do bring to IMSERV is a strong background in operational management and customer experience delivery. Having cut my teeth many years ago working at RAC in the automotive space and identifying challenges within roadside repairs, taking on that experience and moving on then to work in British Gas in their service and repair, gas and electric maintenance and repair centres, and supporting their growth. And then as a result of that, then sort of making a link then from British Gas over to IMSERV to help them with some of their challenges as well. So I bring a lot of experience in terms of how we get the best out of our people, and how we set them up to be successful. And I guess one of the themes that I've always sort of held on to over the years are three key elements of what we need to be able to deliver excellent service. And they are skill set, tool set, and mindset. So we need the correct levels of skills within our workforce. And you either buy those skills in or you develop and nurture those skills. And you've always got to be moving with the times, looking at what the latest challenges are. And so we have a really strong credibility in terms of how we develop our engineers. We've got a strong engineering background within IMSERV. And so the skills that we have and we develop are really important for us. So not only the skills then, when we talk about tools, we need to ensure that tools for the job, not just hand tools, but we're talking procedures, processes, systems. We place a lot of emphasis on those things as well to ensure that when our people are in front of our customers and in front of our challenging environments, that they've got the right support and the right skills. But probably the one that means the most for me is all around mindset. And as a leader and as a leadership team, it's on us really to ensure that the people have the correct mindset, and that mindset has to be one that focuses on resolution and focuses on doing the right thing for the customer and doing it first time. And to be inquisitive as well about, well, if I can't repair this or I can't overcome this challenge, what can I do? And I've always felt and always ensured that the answers are very often with the people that do the work. So we talk a lot with our engineers and our technicians about what more we can do. And that then generates a very much an R&D environment within IMSERV where ideas from field are developed and supported. And we've actually come up with some little inventions that Emily will touch on a little later in the presentation about specific things that we've identified and then we've gone away and fixed. So those three key themes have always stayed with me as an operator and a leader within operational businesses, and they still feature very heavily today in the role that I support for IMSERV. So that's a little bit about myself. We'll focus now in terms of what our expertise is. I've touched on it really in terms of we have a very strong electrical engineering capability. It's part of the heritage that Emily talked about right at the beginning around the number of years that we've operated in this space. And with that, that means that we are capable of looking across all different types of metering and communication challenges. So that fits very much within the DNA of our expertise. And as I mentioned earlier, we've got a strong development process within our technicians and engineering process. We've got a state-of-the-art facility in our Milton Keynes office now, where we look to set up scenarios and complex challenges, and then we bring our technicians through, developing them on an annual basis to ensure that their knowledge is kept up to date. And then not forgetting, it's not just about our technicians in the field. You know, there's a strong engagement that our office teams have to do with customers, end users, site contacts to ensure that we can really understand what's going on the site, what's really going on in terms of what's important for you. And then we can tailor that in through the services that we offer to ensure that your specific needs are met. So really fundamental to the way that the IMSERV operational teams work is sort of hinged around engineering expertise, but is very much around discovery, learning, invention, and supported through our office teams in terms of their focus on you as a customer. So I'm going to start moving through some of what are the practical barriers that that we come across in our field operation, and they typically follow the two themes. One is around site complexity, and one is around technical complexity. And those six themes really roll up around where we place most of our focus in terms of trying to resolve. So if we start with site complexity, you know, we have access challenges as most that operate within any sort of field delivery solution. Accessing the site is critical for us. D&O issues are commonplace as well, so we find challenges with certain environments that we go into, and then adding to that then are the complexity around needing to shut down. So power down for a lot of our industrial and commercial customers is difficult because uptime is so important for them. So those three key themes really are what we talk about around site complexity. So if I start with the site access challenges, for me, this is probably one of the most important steps in the process, because if we don't fully understand what it is that we're going into, then a lot of the challenges that we see downstream, we could avoid if we knew more about what we see. So our teams, our office teams, engage heavily at the front end. And for some of our large end user customers, we have dedicated scheduling teams that work with specific contacts within your businesses. And what they'll identify are what are the things that we need to do to ensure that when we get to site, it's as smooth as it possibly can be. Now, sometimes that can be around parking arrangements. Sometimes that's more complex around, you know, where is the meter? How do we get to the meter? Have we got to meet somebody on site who's going to escort us to the meter? And then there's also some of our more technical challenges around access criteria. So things like induction training needs to be carried out before we arrive on site. Sometimes it's induction when we arrive on site. Sometimes it's around having the right permits, the right training and authorities to be able to allow us to get through potential security checks. So this for me, and I'll talk about the importance of getting this right as well. This for me is one of the primary focuses for us, and this is where our office teams and their expertise really start to kick in. So based on that, then often we can't always see the site. So often the D&O issues appear as we arrive on site. But what we do is we focus very much on what are we not fixing, and then analysing the aborts. So what jobs are we aborting and why are we aborting them? Because that information is critical. It may not help the current situation the technician's in, but if we start to analyse and look at key themes and trends, we start to then identify issues like metal clad cutouts, delta cutouts, challenges with asbestos. And then what we look for our technical expertise and our engineering teams is find solutions for us that can help us work on metal clad cutout. Let's work on some development and training to sign off. Let's get into our training centre and let's replicate some of these scenarios and get our engineering and our technical teams through those, and then find solutions in terms of how we can resolve that for you. And then obviously where there are specific D&O escalation procedures, our engineers and technicians are qualified to follow those, and will ensure that they're followed stringently as well. And then the final one in terms of site complexity is around the shutdown challenge. And as I mentioned, you know, INC and some of the businesses that we support very much require us to focus in on what's required on site, what's the right time for us to power down. Do we need to go hand in hand with an electrician or a site worker to ensure that when those processes happen, in some scenarios we need to have backup supply organised, we need to have co-attendants organised, and we need to ensure that those dynamics that happen on scene are correctly lined up and ensure that everybody's working together. And then where necessary, if a power down is required out of what's deemed as working hours, then we can arrive on site early, or we can do evening attendance or even weekends as well. So we'll understand what's the requirement of the business, what's the right time to support this, who do we need to work with, and then we'll look to set up engagement with customer and try and ensure that we overcome some of those issues. So we've talked about some of the site complexity. The next three really are around technical complexity, and probably those of you that are familiar with this will not be surprised that communication challenges with meters, shared supply, and space constraints are a common theme for us. Some of the businesses that we work with, often the meter is built behind brick walls, it's underground, it's in basements, and therefore standard communication solutions aren't always going to work. And where that happens, we'll look to deploy alternative communication methods using Ethernet or remote modems or high gain aerials. So we've got a wide array of different communications, and obviously we look ahead as well in terms of development to see, well, what else is there that we could use in this space. Shared supply, our technicians can split supply, and therefore that means we can power down businesses without affecting the premises. So that gives us a leading edge in terms of preventing aborts and making sure that we deliver first time. And then finally, space constraints. So you heard me talk on the previous slide about the importance of setting up correctly, and this one links very much in with that one, because pre-survey work is really important for us. If we can see what's on site before we attend, then we can help prepare both our communication in terms of where our office will focus, but more importantly, from a technician's point of view, getting eyes on the site before we attend is critical. And what we don't want to do is arrive on site and find things that perhaps if we'd have seen them earlier, it may have prevented an abort from happening. So we put an awful lot of focus into this area. We offer certain customers in certain scenarios physical attendance. So we will do a pre-survey, a light touch visit where we can look at the site and we can make sure that we're familiar with the site and understand that around the meter setup, if there's specific tooling or specific arrangements that need fulfilling, then we will be able to see that in advance. Where we're starting to move to now with a number of our customers is where we look at assessment through photograph. So clearly, real good photographs around the meter setup will help us analyse and understand what we're able to do or can't do. And then the use of video as well, and as a result of that leading into the use of AI is starting to really develop a different way of working. So that whole focus from the sort of the development and innovation is starting to really put a strong emphasis on the importance of getting eyes on site before we attend. So I guess this is my final slide really, and the way I would summarize the approach that IMSERV take is, you know, we've got strong technical engineering mindset which we can tailor, but we tailor that focus and that innovation with having a resolution mindset across my teams. So I ensure that our engineers that are attending are focused on, if we can't repair first time, what do we need to do to repair the next time we go? So really driving in the importance of success and that feedback loop around everybody has an opportunity to improve the performance that we're delivering. So please feedback. And critical, as I mentioned, to our ability to fix is we must really get that upfront engagement right. If we get the site contact right, we get the communication with whoever we're going to meet, we understand what we're going to walk into, by putting a lot of focus on the pre-survey work and the use of videos and the use of AI really drives some of that ability to ensure that some of those other challenges, we're aware of them before we attend. And then finally, really just to touch on how the teams are organised. you know, we have a number of different work streams. We have specific project teams that work directly with end user partners, where they'll have dedicated scheduling and project management resource that's focusing on a weekly and daily basis with the customer and the end user. But in addition to that, we've got a team that are now working with Alt-Han. So Alt-Han are providing a local hand device that enables multi-occupancy buildings where there's potentially 15 floors, 30 floors, sprawling residential properties, and being able to communicate with the meter room, which often could have 40, 50 different meters inside it. We've been tasked with basically owning half of the Alt-Han portfolio. And what we do is we will go onto site, we will survey the meter room, we will then, off the back of the survey, we'll then come away and design what needs to happen to ensure that the Alt-Han bridging device can be fitted into the meter room. And that may mean we need to make adjustments within that room. We may need to move meters around to create space for the device. And we'll create building design drawings, which then we submit into Alt-Han, and then through approval, we'll get back onto site, and then we'll go through a resolution process. So it's the whole end-to-end process of helping the suppliers find a way of getting into buildings and redesigning some of those meter rooms to ensure that every customer has the opportunity to take advantage of the smart meter. So again, a really sort of bespoke piece of work we do. We have a dedicated team that work only for Alt-Han, and they're working on an end-to-end sort of delivery process all the way through from early engagement with landlords right through to resolving the meter moves for them as well. And then across some of our other teams, so we have a focus on submetering. So we do a large portfolio of submetering business for end users as well, where we're providing support on discrete projects, national projects as well, which Emily will touch on in some of the case study work as well. So dedicated teams really, and sort of linking back to what I talked about earlier, you know, all the teams focusing on making sure we've got the right skills to deliver, making sure we've got the right tools in place to back up those skills, and most importantly, making sure our people have got the right mindset. And the mindset for this has always been about resolution, making sure that we're inquisitive and we're focused on delivering for customers. Thanks, Emily. So that's a brief insight into my world. I'll hand over to Emily now to pick back up on the presentation as well.
Thanks, Damian. So yeah, that kind of gives you a really great view on everything that we do technically and practically on the ground to make sure that that portfolio becomes complete, that we've got our fingers in various pies, from kind of more residential areas like Alt-Han and crowded meter rooms, all the way through to submetering and things like EV on obviously the business side, and making sure that that portfolio can be complete no matter the customer's needs or anything like that. So as we're doing all this current on the ground work, we also want to look at how ongoing portfolio completeness can be improved as we move forward. So as kind of Damian mentioned, that includes adopting new technologies like AI. We've been looking at these kind of AI video analysis, and there's been some really successful work in that field that we're bringing onto IMSERV, where customers can take a short video of sites, say, you know, I'm looking at the meter's in this room, it's in this area, and before we even get to site, we can say, that meter is behind a wall, or that meter is of a certain height that we need 2 people to go and visit that. So we're preventing aborts earlier and earlier down that line. So that's something that we're really moving towards at pace. That also helps us with something that's really important to us, which is health and safety. If there's anything dangerous at site, water where there shouldn't be water, various kind of objects in the way that could cause accidents or slip and trip risks, etc. Making sure that we're advancing alongside technology and that we're using that technology to make everything quicker, better, and safer as we go through. Additionally, we support a wide range of meters. Not only do we have really high adoption rates, especially where we're given things like meter technical details or meter serial numbers ahead of time, and we can predict to a very close margin what we'll anticipate to adopt and what we'll have to expect to exchange. But we also adopt and support a wider range of meters than we did just a few years ago. And that's something that we're also continually expanding, looking at new meters, older meters, whatever that we're able to support, and make sure that when you on board with us or when you bring anything new with us, that we can make sure that portfolio is complete for you, and that completeness feeds back into what we were talking about earlier, making sure that as quickly as possible you can get that visual of that data from whatever kind of meter you've got existing on the wall. And then finally, in terms of ongoing new products and services, in 2026, we've got some really exciting things coming, including gas AMR. So that's a U6 size, so it's a smaller size, so for smaller buildings, if you have any. Where previously we've worked more in the logger space. There are obviously problems with loggers in that people often say, I don't know what this is, let me unplug it. Other groups will daisy chain onto it and plug into them, reducing that effectiveness of those loggers and the permanent accessibility. Additionally, where we require a pulse, we've looked at doing this gas AMR on that U6 for now size. So if that's something you're interested in, do let us know. We're at the early stages. We've already run a trial with a number of them with certain customers. It's all going really, really great, including changing that meter out for an AMR that automatically sends us the data, and we can provide that to customers at that day +1 rate. Is really making a difference for those customers that have participated so far. So if that's something that you or your customers or anyone that you're aware of would be interested in going forward, do let us know, because we'll be happy to support on that and make that portfolio more complete as well from that more permanent perspective in terms of gas AMR. We also work with dual fuel sites with poor signal connectivity. As Damian mentioned, we work with a lot of different comms alternatives, and we're always looking at new ones, including satellite or changing PSTNs to broadband lines, trying to really innovate wherever possible to make sure that we can get that data across to customers as frequently and as accurately as possible. As Damian mentioned, shutdowns is something that we've heard a lot over, I was about to say the last few years, but from the sounds of it, for forever, shutdowns can be difficult for a lot of customers. And so we have a wonderful staff of effectively inventors who are working on looking at new ways to support that, new ways around that, new ways to minimize the impact of shutdowns. We also, along those inventors that I've just name dropped as well, they also work on J-type meters, where we were finding that was a really risky install and fault work on J-type meters. And so people at IMSERV, using our training facilities, came up with custom shrouds to make sure that techs working on those will be safe and that we can work on those and get new access to new data for those meters, which prevents that portfolio incompleteness, and we make sure that's coming around. So IMSERV really aim to be on the front line of these new products and services to make your portfolios complete. And we continue as well. So if anyone has any thoughts or any common issues that they're having, please do let us know, and we'll work on those creative solutions to coming up with making your data more complete. And then also we're going to look at some case studies. So we work with a variety of customers from industrial automotives, large water authorities, major telecoms providers, and they're kind of large scale. We also work on smaller scales as well, but for you guys, the major energy users, these are probably of more interest. So picking out a few specific areas on the industrial automotive customer, looking at complex multi-site, we've done over 200 sub-metering installations for them, and using their systems as well to feed into real-time data monitoring. That's something that is very important to customers like that, where they have a lot of different machinery work, a lot of different areas of the site that are using a vast amount of electricity depending on where they are and what they're doing. Getting that granular visibility of their portfolio, allowing it to be complete and then some by adding more data points, it has really benefited them and their cost effectiveness as well as their energy efficiency. For large water authorities, a lot of them have really complex access and scheduling sites across multiple suppliers, from DNOs across different areas to different people on site that are working on them. So we have dedicated teams and specialist booking teams that are familiar with the needs and requirements of those sites. We do bespoke training both internally and using external partners that may be required at those sites that they're attending, making sure that everyone is safe, comfortable and knowledgeable going on those sites, especially where they may be more dangerous sites. Everyone is safe and there on time and so on. And then for telecom providers, we have a lot of complex site locations and co-attend requests and then cell providers on one asset. So it's a lot of moving parts with telecoms, lots of different parties that need to be accommodated. And so we work with them as closely as possible to make sure that we're getting out to site, we're working on those sites quickly and efficiently to get those data points back into their portfolio and to make sure that there's nothing missing. There's no barriers between us and various other parties, making sure that that data comes into us. And then finally, a bit about our engagement approach. Obviously, all of this sounds great, all the technical on site, all of the solution finding and problem solving, but what is key to that is engagement between customers and MOPs like ourselves. So for us, we make it easier for you to reach the right support. We've obviously, a lot of you will be aware that IMSERV's had a lot of transformation in the last year and a bit, and a big part of that has been making sure that the support that we provide is better, more efficient, and easier for you to get to. So it's working faster and easier by routing inquiries through the right channels. This is another area that we're looking at introducing new developments and new technology, including AI screening, so that as customers come into us, they're going into the right place and the right people to help them quicker, rather than going through various chains. We're trying to streamline that as much as possible to get access to things quicker. This channel-led approach has helped us focus our resources where they're most needed, and also allowed us to kind of route through our company quicker and more efficiently to make sure that things are being resolved in a more efficient way. Being more proactive in how we engage with you, for myself from a commercial perspective as well, from that account management focus, we're getting to know customers in various verticals. So for example, I work with a lot of water companies, and so learning from what one water company may work well with and have found really effective through getting their portfolio complete, certain sub-metering projects, certain site requirements and health and safety initiatives, we can make recommendations to other water companies and say, this sub-metering really increased their another water company's efficiency. Have you thought about sub-metering these kind of properties on your portfolio? We've found that elsewhere it's been really effective. Can this help you? And rather than being reactive, where we're waiting for a lot of customers to come to us and tell us what they need, we're going out and saying, we think you might need this. Is this something we can help with? To make sure that those data points are complete across the entire portfolio and then some as well. Getting every angle on it is obviously very important to us. That's also done through MBRs and meeting cadences that are aligned with the customer and their needs. And then finally, improving our customer engagement process. So booking, planning, and field teams have been brought together under a more streamlined matrix so that everything is working on a smooth journey. It's about getting data, contracts, and customer details right from the start, looking ahead, making sure that everything is going ahead smoothly, effectively, and efficiently, and also by looking at where those problems continue to persist. So things like aborts and removing abort risks and abort likelihood by putting other things in place and new technologies and new processes. So overall, that's giving us the process that customers expect from us and hopefully going above and beyond where possible to make sure that, to bring it back round, that portfolio is complete at every point possible as quickly and efficiently as possible. But that covers off all of the things that Damian and I wanted to come and speak to you about specifically today. But we'd love to hear any questions that you guys may have about your portfolios, about completeness, any common areas that you may have about where you might need some support, or you may have not thought about needing support before, but you might want to hear from us about how we can help you, or have any recommendations from us about common issues that you're having.
So I want to thank Damian and Emily for the presentation today and for staying on and answering those questions as well. And there's a QR code on the screen there if you'd like to snap that with your phone and go through and add any further questions to the team. I'm sure they'll come back to you. But other than that, I'd like to thank you for your time and have a great afternoon. Thank you.